Seattle Times has a reefer madness going on with trying to just say that high THC products are bad. Okay, like alright, well, let's take a look at this. I never done the whole like read an op-ed while commenting on it, so we'll see how it turns out. Okay. Seattle Times Editorial Board, February 9th, 2023 at 2:28 p.m. Updated February 2023 at 2:28 p.m. So they posted and updated. Okay, while the state has established rules for Washington cannabis industry, it has neglected to thwart the serious potential harm by high-potency extracted cannabis. Oh boy. What is that? Further indolence. Wow. Wow, well, like a very, very condemning word there. Okay, I looked it up. Indolence means laziness. Maybe they are all smoking high cannabis products, and that's why. But children and adults at risk of serious harm, including schizophrenia and other mental health impacts. In the citation, they do have a report. For starters, lawmakers should try by following the recommendations contained in a report they ordered by the University of Washington and Washington State University, which I'm sure has all the clearest interests, especially with a federally demonized drug and drug that's still, safer than alcohol. But cannabis has changed dramatically since it was legalized for recreational use in Washington in 2014. Highly potent manufactured cannabis products available in retail stores have THC, because I'm not going to say it, content varying from 60 to 90%, up from the 15% found in plants. I'm sorry, if I'm smoking a joint and it's not at least 20%, what is the point? What is the point? Manufactured cannabis extracts now represents 35% of the state's cannabis market, up from 9% in 2014. That's almost like 10 years ago. I mean, as time goes on, new products are going to start in the market. Some state determined that young people are more vulnerable to high-potency THC products, which can have lifelong mental health consequences, among other risks. If this was Wikipedia, it would get trashed by the editors by using, resale words which will they, how, what. In 2018, the Legislature commissioned the University of Washington's Addiction, Drug and Alcohol Institute to develop recommendations for state policies on cannabis concentration and mitigation harmful health impacts. Okay. The report produced a number of potential policies, including taxing products with THC greater than 35%, which are products already taxed to hell, prohibiting marketing and advertising of high THC products. I've never been advertised a high THC product in all of the time that I've lived here. You'd see way more for CBD, which is the non-psychoactive. Rapper Lauren Davis D. Shoreline took the U.S. recommendation crafted HB 1641, which does all three. The cannabis industry opposed the measure. Big cannabis is opposed to it, guys. Big cannabis. We cannot go back to the notion that prohibition is going to stop consumption, said Vicki Christopher of the Washington Cannabis Business Association, which represents Washington's licensed and regulated cannabis and hemp business, to testify before the House Regulated Substance and Gaming Committee. This stance is no surprise. And you see the Seattle Times here, sort of putting as like, oh, the tax. And, what the thing is the tax is always going to be passed on to the consumer anyway. And listen to the first of the perils, including Danielson. The side about this still suffer from cannabis hyper syndrome, or CHS, which is a lot of people do have like an allergic reaction to cannabis. It is possible, like just with anything. And yeah, it's wow. And I've known people, and the only solution is not to smoke weed. And I mean, some people actually are only able to smoke weed if it's like actually highly extracted and refined. Otherwise, they might have an allergic reaction. Doctor, yeah, we're gonna have to look up all these people later. He was shown unresponsive by extreme dehydration that damaged multiple. And this was well after he quit cannabis. After he quit cannabis came back. Okay, I'm not laughing at Stell's death, but the medical examiner even found no THC in the system. This is supposed to be like a gotcha, but it's not. It's not. And if you're and they're talking about the larger issue of psychosis, but they're talking about a physical reaction in allergy, which is the cannabis hypermiss syndrome. But then they're like trying to bring psychosis into it, which is like an entirely separate reaction that some people might have. My last time in service at Harborview Medical Center, I took care of a 15-year-old with a suicide attempt and acute psychosis from exactly these high-potency products. And one, I think it's just so dirty to talk about, people's attempts, and that's a justification for this. And, another thing is just, what are all the other factors affecting this child? The editorial has supported THC cap as more effective way to tackle this problem than higher taxes. Wow, how generous. While the Europe did not support capping THC at the time, it left the door open. So they want to make the products less effective, so in a sense more expensive. So there's no tax, but there is kind of this little tax in there. Davis also drafted HB 1642, which prohibit retailers from selling cannabis products with THC contained in 35%, with medical exceptions. So what are the medical exceptions? So it's so bad that it should be banned unless there's medical exceptions. But it's bad because it's causing these health problems. So why would there be medical exceptions? At this point, she likes to even if it's to raise the age of limit of purchase. If the state fails to move on to any recommendations, is a reflection of where people are placing their values on the state's cannabis industry versus the state's children. Why don't you go put some fucking money on, the children stop sleeping at hotels? The House Committee was allowed to report it on a shelf. Instead, it ought to act in best interest of Washingtonians and take meaningful steps to regulate cannabis and protect public health. The Seattle Board, Stout Times, and Kate Riley, Frank A. Blason, Alex Fryer, Mark Higgins, Claudia Rowe, Clarkson Winfrey, and William K. Bluffton, Emeritus. This is a bag of garbage. Just seems like a lot of the newspapers are really going back into full reefer madness.